Good morning, students, parents, teachers, and members of the AIC community. My name is Junhyuk Song, and I am the student body president. I am honored to be opening this year's AIC's United Nations International Day of Peace. Before I begin, I would like to remind our audience to please silence all devices, and in the event of an emergency, please calmly leave the theater through the closest emergency exit. The theme for this year is Climate Action for Peace, focused through the Sustainable Development Goal number 13. Extreme heat waves, elongated winter and summer seasons, and drastic weather changes are all caused by climate change. Yet, its impact goes beyond our environment as it has evolved into the biggest developmental challenge of the planet today. It is disrupting economies, affecting lives, and costing people and communities immensely by the minute. While we might not feel the impact, it is the poorest and most vulnerable communities who are affected the most. As we live in one of the largest developing countries in the world, it is our duty to understand the significance of our role in preventing climate change to protect peace in the world. When we are safe at home, natural disasters force millions to leave their homes and seek safety elsewhere. When Chennai's water reservoir went dry in the summer of 2019, everyone was affected. Yet there was a greater impact on poorer communities who are reliant on distant public water pumps and waiting in line for water trucks. According to CNN, an entire family in one of Chennai's slums get just 8 to 10 gallons of water every day. To put that into perspective, the average Americans use more than 300 gallons per day. Hence, it is important to realize how fortunate we are to have the privilege to nourish such basic human needs. However, we are at a stage where being complacent will not do our planet any good. We have the opportunity to prevent climate change, and it is important to realize that everyone is a part of the solution, starting at home with eco-sustainable practices such as turning off the lights, to working with relief organizations to support and aid fellow human beings struggling with natural disasters. Some might say an individual practicing such action will not make much of a difference. However, there is a saying that goes, we don't need a handful of people doing sustainable living perfectly, but we need millions of people doing it imperfectly. If we each partake in a small amount, that number will accumulate and return with a bigger impact in our future. Thank you. And now, I'm proud to kick off the 2019 Parade of Flags, beginning with our early year students walking with the flag of the United Nations. Australia. Austria. Brazil. Canada. China. Denmark. France.
One more time.
Germany. Greece. India. Israel. Italy. Japan. Korea.
아리랑 아라리가 안았네 날 따려가거라 날 따려가거라 모정한 우리
Lithuania. Lithuania. Malaysia. The Netherlands. New Zealand. Peru. Portugal. Romania. Singapore. South Africa. Thailand. Tunisia. Turkey. United Kingdom. United States of America. I would like to thank all the students for having the courage and confidence to take the stage and represent the diverse student body we have here at AISC. I would also like to take this moment to thank all teachers, staff, and administrators that helped make this parade the success that it was. I would like to now invite the Secretary General of MUN, Prahlad Giridhar, onto the stage.
Good morning, students, faculty members, and parents. I am honored to be given the opportunity here to address everyone regarding this year's UN Peace Day theme, Climate Action for Peace. Admittedly, I was first confused when I was told what this year's theme was. I've grown up in a world where climate change has constantly been discussed, where I learned about climate change in school, but I never formed the connection between climate change and conflict. To my surprise, the two are linked on a surprisingly detailed level. Firstly, climate change. Everyone in this room is aware of global warming and climate change, how our carbon dioxide emissions from cars, electricity, and more serve to warm the Earth up, causing it substantial damage. The thing about climate change is that it is significantly more urgent than we let ourselves believe. In order to meet the 2016 Paris Agreement, in which nations agreed to limit global climate change to 2 degrees Celsius, we need to be halving our carbon dioxide emissions in 11 years. Now, 11 years sounds like a lot. It's actually more than half the time I've been alive for. But when you really think about it, 11 years to halve our carbon dioxide emissions is nothing. Our carbon dioxide emissions are influenced by electricity and transportation, core aspects of modern society. We need change, and we need it now, because sticking to the Paris Agreement will still lead to a forecasted 3 degrees Celsius change in temperature. Aside from the consequences on habitats, ecosystems, biodiversity, it is becoming increasingly evident that climate change carries more tangible effects. A study conducted by Stanford University reveals that climate change has played a role in anywhere between 3 to 20% of armed conflicts in the past 20 years, and forecasts that this number will very likely increase. There's also evidence to suggest that the Middle East will become uninhabitable, and regions, particularly Syria, will become displaced. If what we are facing in the EU currently is considered a refugee crisis, think about the implications of climate change when it displaces an entire region. Even countries such as our neighbor, Bangladesh, are facing issues such as rising sea level. Where will the inhabitants of these countries go? Even on a psychological level, research shows that people are typically more irritable and angry when it is hotter. All this means that aside from the consequences of climate change that we have been taught in school, climate change also appears to play a role in preventing the ultimate goal of the United Nations, peace. However, Mark Jacobson, professor of environmental engineering at Stanford University, highlights that we are in an era where we can effectively and feasibly reduce our carbon dioxide emissions if politics allows us to do so. The cost of clean energy, particularly solar and wind, has gone down substantially. Electric cars are significantly better for the environment, even if the electricity that they use isn't clean. We're at a tipping point in which we are effectively armed with the tools to combat this issue. So what does this mean for us and for you? Doing what you can is a good start. Be mindful of your usage of transportation and of electricity. Learn about our school's many LEAD efforts and see how you can help both at school and at home. But know that sticking with just what you can do isn't enough. Work with clubs that have connections with important NGOs, such as the Environmental Foundation of India, or start your own to help your voice and opinions be heard outside of school. Make the importance of addressing climate change a priority in your life and a priority in your own political agenda. Ultimately, this is an issue that transcends ethnicity and culture. This is about protecting our home, Earth. And I hope to see you all actively thinking, discussing, acting, and campaigning to defend our planet. Thank you. I would now like to invite our middle school speaker, Aisha Desai, onto the stage.
Good morning, students, parents, and teachers. I'm honored to be able to speak in front of you today about one of the most pressing issues in our world today, peace. Yes, peace is a word that all nations all over the world desire. It's a word that's been begged and pleaded for by nations who have suffered magnitudes of injustice, conflict, and war. These magnitudes have been formed through the lack of global stability, an increased rate in pollution, the waste of resources, and the extinction of several species, also known as the change in climate globally, has threatened us with major consequences. The cause of such harm lies in our hands. The countries that have gone to such an extent that the environment is polluted with various chemicals and disastrous items. Although this may seem irrelevant to peace, climate change has brought together deadly disasters that have displaced several people and have caused a lack of resources. According to the United Nations, natural disasters displace 3 times as many people as conflicts. This is why we should celebrate the United Nations International Peace Day to help tackle climate change and bring prosperity to the millions of people who have suffered due to climate change. A famous quote once said by Mahatma Gandhi states, "You must be the change you want to see in the world." This quote drives us to take action on this global issue and promote peace. We must be responsible for our actions, from turning off the lights to educating the public regarding the issue. We need to spread this desirable word across the globe and open people's eyes for the impact they could have on the world. This is why today we celebrate the United Nations International Peace Day, not just to unite all of us as a school together, but to unite the people who live in this one home that 7.5 billion people share, and together resolve the issue of climate change that plagues millions of people. It is our responsibility to help promote the peace we want to see in the world, to enlighten people's lives, and to resolve the negative impacts of climate change. Thank you. And now, I would like to invite to the stage our elementary school speakers, who will be doing a reading of Wangari's Trees of Peace by Jeanette Winter. This is a true story of Wangari Maathai, environmentalist and winner of the Nobel Peace Prize, who was a shining example of how one person's passion, vision, and determination inspired great change.
Wangari's Trees of Peace. Wangari lives under an umbrella of green trees in the shadow of Mount Kenya in Africa. She watches the birds in the forest where she and her mother go to gather firewood for cooking. And she helps harvest the sweet potatoes, sugarcane, and maize from the rich soil.
Wangari shines in school, and when she grows tall, like a tree in the forest, she wins a scholarship to study in America.
6 years later, her studies over, Wangari returns to her Kenya home and sees a change. What has happened? She wonders. Where are the trees?
Wangari sees women banned from hauling firewood miles and miles from home. She sees barren land where no crops grow. And where are the birds?
Thousands of trees have been cut down to make room for buildings, but no one plants new trees to take their place. Will all of Kenya become a desert? She wonders as her tears fall.
Wangari thinks about the barren land. I can begin to place some of the lost trees here in my own backyard, one tree at a time.
Watching the seedlings take root gave Wangari the idea to plant more, to start a farm for baby trees, a nursery. In an open space, she plants row after row of the tiny trees.
Next, Wangari convinces the village women that planting trees is a good thing. She gives each one a seedling. Our lives will be better when we have trees again. You'll see, we're planting the seeds of hope.
The women spread out over their village, planting tiny trees in long rows, like a green belt stretching over the land. The government men laugh. Women can't do this, they say. It takes trained foresters to plant trees. The women ignore the laughter and keep planting.
Wangari pays them a small amount for its seedlings still living after 3 months. Their first earnings ever.
Word travels like wind rustling through leaves about the green returning to Wangari's village. Soon other women in other villages and towns and cities in Kenya are planting long rows of seedlings too.
But the cutting continues. Wangari stands tall as an oak to protect the old trees still remaining. We need a park more than we need an office tower.
The government men disagree. Wangari blocks their way, so they hit her with clubs. They call her a troublemaker and put her in jail. And still she stands tall. Right is right, even if you're alone.
But Wangari is not alone. Talk of the tree spread over all of Africa like ripples in Lake Victoria. More women hear the talk and plant more seedlings in longer and longer rows.
The seedlings take root and grow tall until there are more than 30 million trees where there were none. The green umbrella of green in Kenya returns. Women walk tall, their backs straight, for now they can gather firewood closer to home.
The land is no longer barren. Sweet potatoes, sugarcane, and maize grow again in the rich red earth.
The whole world hears of Wangari's trees and of her army of women who plant them.
And if you were to climb to the very top of Mount Kenya today, you too would see the millions of trees growing below you and the green Wangari brought back to Africa.
The green Wangari brought back to Africa.
Thank you, Remy, Singi, Charles, Rowan, Yashvi, and Yuju for using your creativity to deliver that inspiring story. Next, the high school choir will perform the song The Place Called Planet Earth. Some among us may recognize its tune from House of the Rising Sun. However, the text was written by English composer Sheena Phillips for a set of songs that was performed by a group of young people at the 2015 Climate March in London. It reminds us of our responsibility to our amazing planet. Please help me welcome the high school choir, who will be joined by Mr. Atto and Miss Lee, who will be singing, and Mr. Carey on percussion.
There is a place called planet Earth. It is so blue and green. It's covered around with seas and skies, a wonder to be seen. Sages came and went. The dinosaurs, they died. And then came the human race and spread itself worldwide. We drove our cars along the ground. We flew our planes above. We felled the trees and killed the birds and earth, the earth we love.
to treasure planet Earth, for it's our only one. There is a place called planet Earth. It is so blue and green. It's covered round with seas and sky, a wonder to be seen. His eyes are blue, red roses too. I see them through for me and you, and I think to myself, what a
Thank you, high school choir, for that song that reminds us to have compassion for our planet Earth. To close our 2019 United Nations Day ceremony, I invite the head of school, Mr. Andrew Hoover, to the stage.
Good morning, everyone. My name is Andrew Hoover. I'm the head of school, the American International School Chennai, and I hope you've enjoyed our celebration of the United Nations International Day of Peace. I'd like to recognize and thank our student speakers and performers today. First, thank you to our high school senior and Secretary General of AISC's Chairman 13, Prahalad Giridhar. Give him a round of applause. Thank you to our 8th grade middle school MUN speaker, Aisha Desai. Thank you to our grade 5 students, Charles Kaye, Remy Tamoto, Rowan Connolly, Sungi Choi, Yashvi Parekh, and Yuju Lee. Thank you, 5th graders. Thank you to our high school choir, the entire group, and Director Deborah Lee. And special thanks to our high school Master of Ceremonies, Grade 12 Student Council President, Jun Hyuk Song. Thank you all very much for your words and for representing our community with such thoughtfulness and empathy. Also, many adults to thank. Thank you to Renato Luna Dezone, Angeline Mohan, Soyeon Lee, Deb Allen, Vijay Saravanan, and Sujata Nair, among many, for leadership. To the many teams of teachers who have made this ceremony so special, this morning special. Thank you, everyone. And in advance for sharing their cultures during our International Day tomorrow, the PCA Executive Committee, the country coordinators, and the many, many parents and faculty and staff who've been so collaborative and community-minded. Thank you, everyone, and we look forward to seeing everyone here tomorrow. The International Day of Peace was established in 1981, and in 2001, September 21st was set aside as a day devoted to reinforcing the ideals of peace within and between all countries. The United Nations General Assembly chose this day to demonstrate a commitment to the ideals of nonviolence among all peoples of all nations. The United Nations organizes many international days throughout the year to educate people across the globe on relevant issues, to activate collective will and shared resources to tackle systemic problems, and to celebrate human accomplishment. In 2015, the United Nations member states adopted the 17 Sustainable Development Goals to bring vision to the aspiration of universal economic and social development and the protection of essential human rights. As many of you know, the UN's Sustainable Development Goals, SDGs, have become a roadmap for global action on the widest array of vital issues to societies across the globe, among them climate change, water, environment, education, poverty, health, and social justice. This year's International Day of Peace theme, Climate Action for Peace, is meant to bring attention and action to climate change, which increasingly is understood as a threat to global security. It brings our focus to Sustainable Development Goal 13, Climate Action, a call to address greenhouse gas emissions and develop our collective capacity to understand climate change. This year's theme draws a clear and necessary line between our aspiration for peace for all peoples and the challenges and opportunities observable and scientifically documented changes to the climate as a result of human activity. Specifically, UN leadership has highlighted the timely relevance of public and private sector shifts away from support for and use of fossil fuels to a focus on renewable forms of energy and green economies. By our most informed environmental policy leaders, not only will immediate climate action help prevent future social, political, and economic instability in the world, it can also facilitate the development of new economies and new forms of social and political organization. In AISC's core beliefs, we've appreciated a long-term commitment to the following values of responsibility. 1, we are responsible for our choices and their effect on ourselves, others, and the environment. 2, in an interconnected world, our positive contributions to the community and the environment are essential. Our school has operationalized these values by committing to engaging external benchmarks set by Leadership in Energy and Environmental Design, LEAD. LEAD's ARC platform empowers us as a school to be accountable to ourselves, to our community, and to the United States Green Building Council across 5 environmental systems that attract our attention: energy, human experience, transportation, waste, and water. Based on our core values and LEED Gold certification, a significant accomplishment in and of itself, the school is committed to making operational, fiscal, and pedagogical choices that demonstrate our commitment to environmental sustainability and responsibility, aiming to reduce our carbon and our waste footprints. As a school, we've also pledged to eliminate the use and sale of single-use plastics and of items that include unnecessary packaging, while continuously focusing procedures and practices to reduce waste of any kind. We have so much more work to do, and we have so much more to give. What can we do? As a school, we are committed to a vision for environmental responsibility. I'll quote it. Together, we commit to lead, live, and work toward a sustainable future, unquote. We intend to continue to adapt our behaviors, communicate what we do and what we believe, and to build our local and our global networks. What can you do? Every one of us is part of the solution. Pay attention. Adapt lifestyles. Talk about global and local climate change with other people. Share your ideas. Connect with social media. Talk about it. Share your activities with other people. Hashtag Peace Day, hashtag Climate Action. The conversation is vital. What should we be talking about in the coming weeks? How can we reduce water consumption and conserve? How can we reduce waste production? How can we reduce fossil fuel consumption? What environmental issue is most pressing for you and for those around you? Today at AISC, we are more than 25 nationalities and an array of amazing cultures. Collectively, we believe that together we can inspire a love of learning and empower each other with courage and confidence and creativity and compassion to positively contribute to communities and to the world. Go forth and contribute. Take climate action for peace. In closing, thank you all for celebrating our commitment to each other, to our environment, and to actions for peace today. Thank you for being here and for your attention and thoughtfulness. Appreciate everything we have here together today and appreciate our community celebration tomorrow. Thank you so very much. To close the ceremony, I would now like to ask teachers and students to stay seated. Parents, you may rise and exit the theater. Teachers and students, stay put for a moment. Thank you all very much. Have a great day.
Can you hear me, Father John? Have you lost what you believe? What's the matter? What's the meaning when nothing's as it seems? Sit down at the table now. There's reason, there's reprieve. You never would know it. Even those who are yet to come are sharers in your grief. 'Cause in a little while, when all will be over, you're gonna say goodbye. Go and get your closure. In 100 years, when you're just a haze on the water, and then when it clears, it's another's turn to discover. But you know, they'll have to let go.